This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa Al Jazari, through the police body cams, Judge Carol Weimer, Glenn Ford, Amy Hodgkins, Kylie Clapp, Kim Coleman, aka Nene, under the microscope. Now, this is a giant title. We have the judge under a microscope. Judge Carol Weimer presided over Mustafa's case for the past 2 years. Judge Carol Weimer sealed off the body cams and the discovery for the Commonwealth attorney and this prosecutor. These witnesses, these witnesses, Amy Hodgkins, who likes to tell people that she's Christine Alcazar on the internet, is literally on the internet trolling the conversation. And if I can ask everybody to mute the YouTube in the background, we're getting feedback from TikTok. Um, Now, I want to thank everybody that's here with us. We're live on TikTok, so we have Char, we have Casey, we have Gary, we have Heather, Tifiz, we have Becky, we have Stefana, we have Shelly, we have Tracy, we have a lot of people. Julia, we have a lot of people that are joining us in this podcast, and we're going to have a conversation. Now, today's focus, we're going to go over the dash camera. There's a dash camera that's under seal by the prosecutor. It's been 2 years. Mustafa has been held in solitary confinement. In the process, Mustafa has his window covered for 2 years. Mustafa was beaten by correctional officers. Mustafa was abused. And in our effort to bring out that his police report were falsified, they beat him inside the jail, retaliating against Mustafa. Mustafa has been held at our county jail, Prince William County Adult Detention Center, for the past 2 years on probable cause, on manufactured probable cause. The police department is using individuals who tell you on the body cam, on police body cam, that we were not there. They say a lot of bad things about Mustafa, but they tell you we were not there. We never saw anything firsthand. Now, the police department is taking their statements and is allowing to manufacture probable cause. Mustafa has been held in a county jail for 2 years on manufactured probable cause. Now, we have the body cams, we have the discovery today that's under seal by the county, but we have it and we're releasing it on the internet. And we have this beautiful podcast to talk about it. This is a very terrifying situation for the county. In their efforts to avoid accountability, they sealed off the material. Today's focus is a dash camera. Mustafa has a dash camera. Mustafa was involved in a tragic vehicle accident where he lost his girlfriend and her 5-year-old baby. Now, in our effort to bring justice to Mustafa, bring justice to Dorothy, bring justice to 5-year-old Empress, we're here and we're talking about the details. This is an accident, a tragic vehicle accident. They've taken this vehicle accident and took advantage of my brother being in a vulnerable situation. My brother was helicoptered to the hospital. Mustafa was in a coma. When he woke up out of a coma, all his police reports are falsified. The police department is using individuals to manufacture probable cause. Now, there is a dash camera inside the vehicle that shows the whole thing is a vehicle accident. The prosecutor is terrified of this dash camera. So she sealed it. She sealed it off from the community. For the past 2 years, this dash camera is sealed. Now we have it, and we leaked it on the internet, and we get to have a conversation. For a prosecutor that screams Mustafa is guilty, why are you terrified from his dash camera? She released a 5-second clip where she pieced together a deformed version of a dash camera and she released it on the news. And she said, "This is a dash camera." No, ma'am, it's not. You're releasing a 5-second deformed version of a dash camera. You're terrified from Mustafa's dash camera. So you sealed it. You went to Judge Carol Weimer and you sealed it along with his body cams, along with his discovery. And today's podcast is going to be dedicated to the dash camera. Now, for the past podcast, we've been focusing on the witnesses that are lying about Mustafa. And every time you talk about Glenn Ford, Kylie Clapp, Amy Hodgkins, Nene, aka Kim Coleman, we have Glenn Ford that comes on the internet and he says, "So what if I lied about your brother?" What do you mean, sir? The prosecutor is hiding the dash camera, is lying about the content of the dash camera, that this is a vehicle accident, and is using you into the character of Mustafa, into the character and the relationship of Mustafa with his girlfriend, Dorothy, into the character and the relationship of Mustafa with her kids. And you're lying, and we have proof that you're lying. Every day we come on here and we dissect this body cam, your body cam, and we find out that you're lying. Now, to sit here and downplay your role is disturbing. Who are you trying to fool here? You think you're going to fool the community? They're here. They're listening. They're watching what you're saying, what you've said. And people are not stupid. Every day, this channel is growing. And Mustafa's story is out in the community. Now, there's an audio floating around that you're a pedophile, that you slept with Dorothy's 16-year-old daughter at the time. 2 years ago, Dorothy's daughter, Kylie Clapp, was 16 years old. You admitted on a recorded line that you slept with this girl. You admit on a recorded line that this girl, Kylie Clapp, has approached you about killing Mustafa. And can we make it look like an accident? You are now a liability for the prosecutor. These details are coming out now 2 years later. We have the Googleness inside the apartment that shows that you are lying about Mustafa's relationship with the kids. You are lying about Mustafa's relationship with Dorothy. In your own word, you say you've never seen anything firsthand. So how could the police department allow you to manufacture a probable cause? I'll tell you why. Because Mustafa was involved in a lawsuit against the police. Mustafa had a lawsuit from 2018 that dragged all the way to the vehicle accident. And now the police department is allowing you, and they're taking advantage of this vehicle accident. My favorite part is the way you want to downplay your role in this whole entire case. Now, before we dive into the dash camera that the prosecutor is terrified that we get to see, let's listen to the audio that's floating around. There's an audio where Glenn Ford, Dorothy's ex-boyfriend, is talking about sleeping with the 16-year-old, Dorothy's 16-year-old. Glenn Ford talks about washing and forcing kids, Dorothy's kids, when he was in a relationship with Dorothy. We're talking about a 40-year-old man washing a 9 and a 10-year-old. I mean, how disturbing does this conversation get? We're talking about Glenn Ford admitting on a recorded line that Kylie Clapp have approached Glenn Ford to kill Mustafa. Well, what do we have? What do we have today? And she said, "Can we make it look like an accident?" Well, what do we have today? Today we have a vehicle accident, and the police mechanic is saying there's mechanical failure. Did Kylie Clapp have someone tamper with Mustafa's vehicle? Did you tamper with Mustafa's vehicle? Kylie Clapp says her dad works for Billy, the club owner that had a problem with Mustafa a month before Mustafa met Dorothy. Unbeknownst to Mustafa. Mustafa had no idea that Dorothy's daughter, her dad works for Billy, that she was hanging around strippers, the same strippers that used to love Mustafa and promote his business, and now are going against Mustafa because their boss went viral. That's a lot of information that I'm throwing at you. But let's slow down the conversation and dive into those details. We have an audio recording where Glenn Ford, on a recorded line, is telling a private investigator these details. Let's pull up the audio recording. The reason this is relevant is because we want to know who are Mustafa's witnesses. I mean, this is very important. When you have a motive to lie about Mustafa, this is a problem. The police department is using individuals that have a motive to lie about Mustafa, who's telling you in their own words, "We were never there. We never saw anything." That's called hearsay. Now, before we jump into that audio with Glenn Ford, I'd like to play a very interesting audio recording where Mustafa's lawyer, at the time when Mustafa was suing the police, we told him about everything that Mustafa is going through. How the police department is falsifying his police report, how they beat him inside the jail. And this is what the lawyer says. It's one thing when you hear from me. It's another thing when you hear from the lawyer that was representing Mustafa against the police. Mustafa had a over $500,000 lawsuit against the police for violating his rights. And Mustafa was in a lawsuit that dragged from 2018 to the day of the accident. And this is what the lawyer says.
The investigator that wrote the report, he lied on the report. We recorded that conversation.
I'm sure he did.
Yes, sir.
Frankly, I'm sure they all know that you sued the Stafford cops. And they beat your brother up because they know that you sued the Stafford cops.
Yes, sir. The investigator that wrote the report, he lied on the report. We recorded that conversation.
I'm sure he did.
Yes, sir.
Frankly, I'm sure they all know that you sued the Stafford cops. And they beat your brother up because they know that you sued the Stafford cops.
Yes, sir.
The investigator falsified the report. I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did. And they beat your brother because you sued the police. This is a video where 6 giant correctional officers enter Mustafa's cell during our effort to bring justice to my brother. We have an investigator that falsified Mustafa's statements, that falsified all of his police reports. In our effort to bring justice to my brother, this happens.
He was in 32 at the time, right across from me.
6 giant correctional officers enter Mustafa's cell and carry out a handcuffed Mustafa behind his back, an unconscious Mustafa, a half-naked Mustafa, and they're still hitting him on the head
after
kicking
that
him,
was done, he was
and they carry him from one cell into another, where they strip him completely naked,
laying there,
beat him more,
started
sexually
carrying
assault him,
downstairs, took him
and then
into
deny him
the
medical.
and did it again.
2 years ago, when we went to the police department, when we went to Sheriff Glen Hill, when we went to the FBI, they said nothing happened.
That's
But today, we have the CCTV video.
No,
And Mustafa, Mustafa's a paralegal.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
From court, from solitary confinement,
We just want to say, like, we really appreciate your call.
from solitary confinement, he wrote a 20-page motion. 20-page motion to continue his case in federal court to the discovery phase with Judge Hilton. Now, we're moving into the discovery phase. And God help this county when we move into the discovery phase. Because we're going to get the rest of the videos. The video when they carried him into the other cell. And the body cams. God help this county. Because we're going to hold this county accountable by law. Our county jail is going to be held accountable for what they've done to Mustafa. I mean, this is Mustafa dragged unconscious from one cell into another cell. The video is posted on the internet. Mustafa is half naked. Half naked. And that giant fat correctional officer still hitting him on the head, kicking him. Mustafa's handcuffed. He's unconscious, being dragged from one cell into another cell. 2 years ago, they told us this didn't happen. That's what happens to Mustafa. That's what happened to Mustafa in our effort to bring my brother justice. Now back to our conversation about the witnesses. Glenn Ford, Kylie Clapp, and Amy Hodgkins. Glenn Ford, on a recorded line, tells a private investigator that Kylie Clapp, Dorothy's 16-year-old daughter, at the time she's 16, today she's 18, went up to Glenn Ford and solicited to kill Mustafa. We have that on a recorded line. Char, thank you for being here, ma'am. Casey, everybody. I can hear you guys. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Our focus today is the dash camera. We're just introducing the witnesses so that the conversation can understood a little bit more in what is going on to Mustafa for the past 2 years. We have an audio where Glenn Ford, let's pull up his picture, and we're really attempting to slow down the conversation because there's a lot. It's a lot of details. This is Glenn Ford.
She said you are. He said I'm not.
This is Glenn Ford, a 4-year-old man who's on a recorded line saying that he fucked a 16-year-old,
And Dorothy
that he washes and forces Dorothy's children, a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old,
yeah, the one that used to be over here.
and is telling this private investigator
He's in here too.
that Kylie, Dorothy's 16-year-old daughter at the time, have solicited to get him to kill Mustafa, and can we make it look like an accident?
It's just a little piece.
This is a star witness in the Mustafa Al-Jazari case.
Am I sure?
We have his body cams,
What'd you say?
and in the body cams, he paints a monster to the investigator. He paints Mustafa as a monster. He says Mustafa is abusive to his girlfriend. Mustafa is abusive to her kids. And then tells the investigator, I never saw anything. Wait a minute. How could you be a witness if you didn't see anything? This is a big problem. The police department was hoping to seal off the body cams so that we can't have a conversation. I mean, this is a big problem for the county because now we have their body cams and we're taking a deep dive into those individuals that the police department is saying they're witnesses. Let's listen to the audio between Glenn Ford and the private investigator.
Oh no.
If you can bear with me, we have a lot of body cams. Let me get to the audio. There we go.
You ready to get it? Should be on the other one.
Fuck all the hell back because we used to fuck the same guys and da and all that shit. I'm like,
Should be on what the
This is the part where he says Kylie came up to him and asked him, "Can we kill Mustafa and make it look like an accident?"
and you didn't have curly hair.
especially the older daughter. And she wanted me to shoot, like, kill him.
The older daughter wanted you to kill him?
Yeah. Like, where? Like, could you please, like, if I make it look like, so, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, something, and it's like self-defense, would you do it? And I'm like, no.
Why did they share himself?
Like, the way he treats his man, she let him.
Kylie Clapp, Dorothy's 16-year-old daughter, and I'm trying to find a picture of Kylie. At the time, Kylie was 16. Today she's 18. And every time, she likes to tell people, "I'm a minor." Not anymore.
To talk to me today.
Not anymore.
Because my dad made me. Because your dad made you.
Can't hide behind being a minor. We have you on a recorded line where Glenn Ford says you came up to him and asked him to kill Mustafa. This is the portion of the audio where
my grandpa's making thousands using a Wi-Fi hack. He just
this is the portion of the audio where Glenn Ford says he forces Dorothy's kids to shower. And he says, I'm not in there looking at them. I'm just showering them. You're talking about a 40-year-old man. A 40-year-old man showering a 9-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Teach them how to fucking take a shower. I mean, I wasn't in there with the boys. Whatever. I'm like, yo, when y'all wash up, you know, that's how you wash up. Every day when I come home from work, whatever, I spend at least an hour of my time teaching that little boy how to read, teaching that little boy how to spell.
We're talking about a 40-year-old man who's telling a private investigator, I'm not in there with them, not looking at them. I'm just showering them. Had to force them to shower. If you thought this was bad, let's continue listening to the rest of the audio. Where Glenn Ford says, he wakes up with a 16-year-old in his bed. That she shows up high, and he's on the same drugs, and then he wakes up with her in his bed. Let's listen to that audio. In this audio, you'll hear Glenn Ford take a deep dive into Dorothy's daughter, Kylie Clapp, and he says that Kylie and her mom were at odds all the time. They're always arguing. And the content of the argument is that the mom is upset about the way she dresses, walking around half naked. And the girl would be so upset, and she tells her, "We're fucking the same guy." Wait a minute. You're fucking Glenn Ford, and you're telling your mom in her face, "We're fucking the same guy." Let's listen to the audio.
Not the older daughter, but the other daughter. I think she did some shit with her.
How old was she?
16? 15 to 16. And one time a girl came to my house all high and shit. I'm like, yo, nah. I told her, like, yo.
Like just weed or?
No, it's not weed. If it was weed, I wouldn't care as much. She used to come in and
Like not.
and be like on the ground, like,
Like okay.
She comes in. She's on some drugs. They are not weed. These are really hard drugs. That she doesn't know where she's at. That she's on the ground. Doesn't know where she's at. And then he says, "I'm on the same drugs." And then they takes the conversation into second gear. And he says, "I wake up with her in my bed."
I'm going. That you. You're sitting here thinking.
I sit there like, bruh. Like, I take them. Well, I took them.
Yeah.
And I didn't act like that. Like,
Yeah.
that was like, me, I used to do it like to the point where I took it because I didn't want to get sick with withdrawal. and
Yeah.
shit. So I took like one. I think one, I'm good for the day.
Yeah.
She looked like she took like multiple, or she took them like
Did your
different
mom
ways.
do it with her?
No. I know for a fact, Dorothy didn't do pills with her, but she would smoke weed with her.
Okay.
And I told Dorothy, your daughter comes to this house like that one
Why do you think
time.
that she did something like she did what happened to her with that one?
I thought I said it.
So what'd she say?
Like when she was arguing with her mom, like, cause Dorothy and her used to.
No, I can hear you guys. I can hear you guys. You guys are good.
This is not the oldest
It's not the oldest.
You know I am.
She's a sweetheart. She's a fucking sweetheart. But she gangster too.
Nah.
And she gangster, like, she's ready to kill that nigga. Like, seriously kill that nigga.
She's the one that wanted to get
The older one.
So what did she say to
Oh, cause,
maybe arguing?
yeah, she be like, the way she dressed and shit, Dorothy be like, you run around acting like a little slut or whatever. And she like, oh, you need to fuck all the hell back because we used to fuck the same guys and da-da-da-da and all that shit. I'm like, oh,
What?
y'all gotta go.
Wow.
Y'all gotta go.
The conversation got too close to home, and he's like, "Y'all gotta go. Y'all gotta go." Mom tells her she's upset at her, arguments all the time, blah, blah, blah. But walking around half naked, she tells her mom, "We're fucking the same guy." And he gets upset. "You gotta go. You gotta go." The conversation got too close. Now, let's continue listening to the audio.
Wow. And she was only 16? I said we used to?
I'm like, yo, y'all gotta go. This shit right here, like, nah, I'm not about that life, nah. I don't want no cops knocking on my door asking for you.
Wow.
And they did that too. After I kicked her out, whatever, the school system came. It's like, yeah, it's Dorothy Fontaine. I'm like, yo, she don't fucking live there. What am I here for? Yeah, because her kids haven't been in school for weeks. I I don't know where she at. She.
Now, this conversation becomes relevant. It gives us a glimpse into Kylie and who Kylie is and what kind of relationship she has with her mother. Kylie Clapp, 16-year-old Kylie.
When we talk about him, he doesn't hear us.
Kylie Clapp is a 16-year-old at the time. Was separated by CPS from her mother. And she had a lot of problems back and forth with her mom. She's living a certain lifestyle. She's in drugs. She's into prostitution. And at one point, CPS separates her from her mom. And she's living with her father. Now, this is before Mustafa met Dorothy. This becomes relevant to the conversation that we'll dive after this audio. When we're talking about how is the police department using Kylie, and who is Kylie, and why is Kylie saying so many negative things about Mustafa, when in her forensic interview, she says, Mustafa is abusive to my mother, Mustafa is abusive to the kids, but I never saw anything firsthand. But she's painting Mustafa as a horrible monster. But she says, I've never seen anything. Now we have evidence that Kylie has a motive to lie about Mustafa. And the police department is allowing Kylie to lie about Mustafa. Now let's continue listening to the audio.
She doesn't live here. She never lived here.
A lot of her behaviors remind me of someone who has a substance abuse problem.
She never, like, she didn't do no drugs. She
What
knew,
about that Mustafa guy?
I don't know. I just think he just smokes weed. Cause I even asked her, like, you know what I'm saying, like, yo, you on?
Is he alcoholic?
I just know he smokes weed. Because I asked her, like, you know what I'm saying, because at that time I was taking the shit, and I was like, it wouldn't be a problem. Like, you know what? Just to tell me that I won't. If I do it, I won't do it in his house.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So every time I like come home from work, I would do it before I get in the house.
Yeah.
Or I would step out my house. You know,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to step out my house.
Yeah.
And every time she tried to sleep in my bed, like, no, go in the fucking living room, yo. I'm like, you're not sleeping in my bed, not with me in it. Like, I don't want no.
He wakes up with her in his bed. She's on hard drugs. He's on the same drugs. She shows up. She doesn't know where she's at. And then he wakes up with her in his bed. We're building a profile about Glenn Ford. Now, Glenn Ford is very upset on the internet. And I don't understand why he's upset. I mean, this is what he said to the private investigator. You're upset at something you said? I've never turned the conversation personal. I always invite him to be on this podcast. As a matter of fact, we have a mobile podcast where we go out in front of the FBI building and hold a mobile podcast, and we invite him to physically show up and answer our questions. Our questions are what you said on the body cam. We're asking you about what you said. You said Mustafa is abusive to Dorothy, is abusive to the kids. And then you say you never saw anything firsthand. And now we have evidence, Google home videos that shows Mustafa loves his family.
This is like in the olden days, you know, when they didn't have no volume, no audio.
Why did you lie about Mustafa?
That's what we're doing.
I mean, we know the police department allowed you to lie, and they're allowing you to manufacture a probable cause. We know why the police department did it. But you to sit there and then downplay your role into the whole entire Mustafa Al-Jazari case. You're the star witness, my friend. Here we have you on a recorded line admitting that you're a pedophile, that you slept with a 16-year-old. the 16-year-old, who's the other star witness into the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. Now, that's relevant because Kylie is also painting Mustafa as a monster. And she said, Mustafa is abusive to my mother, is abusive to the kids, but I never saw anything firsthand. Now, Kylie is lying about Mustafa. And we have proof where this girl has a motive to lie about Mustafa. Kylie was not living at Mustafa and Dorothy's apartment. Kylie was living at her father's apartment. She lived with her dad. Now, a month before Mustafa's relationship with Dorothy is 3 months. Now, would it surprise you to know? We had no idea. These are new details. Unbeknownst to Mustafa, unbeknownst to everybody, we found out that Kylie is connected to an individual that hates Mustafa, that had a major problem with Mustafa. A month before he met her mother. She's coming from those people. What am I talking about? There's a video on here where an individual has a major problem with Mustafa. Mustafa has a small business, a physical therapy equipment business, a heat warmer business. You know those small physical therapy equipment that are FDA approved? Mustafa sells medical equipment. Heat warmers that are $5 a heat warmer. Now, there's a location, a very busy location. We live in Stafford. Mustafa would go from Stafford all the way to Crystal City. The strip club in Crystal City, Arlington, Virginia. That's a very busy location. And there is public easement, public property that you can stand there and promote your business, sell your heat warmers. Now, this club, to the right, there's a Chinese restaurant. To the left, there's a 7-Eleven. And Mustafa would go there, and he's been going there for a long time. One day, the club owner takes it upon himself to remove Mustafa from the property, even though he had no right to remove Mustafa from the property. That video goes viral, and the community start boycotting that establishment because what you see is a racist, fat white man being racist to a Mustafa. And the community doesn't stand for that. This video went viral, and the community started boycotting that establishment.
God damn it, I'm telling you, you're gonna fucking go. You're gonna assault me? You're gonna fucking get off my property. How many times I have to tell him, officer? Get the fuck off my property. Get the fuck off it.
I got this whole thing on.
You're good. Get the fuck off my property. You get the fuck off it.
You're gonna go to jail, bro.
Yeah, you watch who goes to fucking jail. How many times have you heard how many times I've told him? And you'll fucking see where we're standing. Get the fuck off my property, motherfucker.
Bitch, stop standing.
Fuck you. Get off. Fucking keep it up.
Now, this video is unique on its own right because it gives you a glimpse into who Mustafa is. The prosecutor paints a monster of a Mustafa. I mean, when we watch this video, Mustafa is de-escalating the situation. Mustafa is taking steps backward. That's not the Mustafa the prosecutor describes on the news. I mean, when he typed Mustafa Al-Jazari, they're painting a monster. Now, this situation, Billy, the club owner, comes out and attempting to remove Mustafa. This video goes viral. A month into that situation, Mustafa met Dorothy. And unbeknownst to him, Kylie, her dad works for Billy. And he pierces all the strippers for Billy. Do you know how deep of a relationship you have to have with Billy to be able to pierce all her strippers? All his strippers? Now, we have Kylie on a recorded line saying that. This is not, you don't have to take my word for it. Let's listen to that audio recording where Kylie says, my dad works for Billy.
My dad, he's a piercer. He pierces like a lot of strippers, and he had brought up to them what happened and they were and who they were, and they were like, yeah, we know this guy, like he used to record our license plates and put it on the internet and like follow us home and stuff. So I also was thinking, I don't want them to follow me home, and I don't.
So she's repeating the same sentiments of the strippers that works for Billy, who I have video evidence that used to love Mustafa, used to go out and help Mustafa promote and sell his equipment, his heat warmers. Or after this video went viral and the community started boycotting their establishment, I mean, they start antagonizing Mustafa. The same ones. Kylie's hanging around those strippers. Her dad works for Billy. And she's watching her mom's new boyfriend through the eyes of those strippers. We have a 16-year-old. At the time, she was 16. And she's watching Mustafa through the eyes of those strippers and formulating her opinion about Mustafa through the eyes of those strippers. Now, we have the recording where Glenn Ford says Kylie came up to him and said, can we kill Mustafa and make it look like an accident? Now, is that Kylie wanting to kill Mustafa? Is it because the club owner is so angry at Mustafa that the community stopped boycotting him, is influencing Kylie? We don't know. But we have Kylie on a recorded line attempting to kill Mustafa. Now, when you take a deep dive into psychoanalyzing Kylie, we know from Glenn Ford that Kylie had a lot of problems with her mom. That CPS separated her from her mom before Mustafa. Remember, this is a 3-month relationship. Dorothy met Mustafa, loved Mustafa. It's a beautiful relationship. And Dorothy was moving. I mean, when Mustafa met Dorothy, Dorothy was living out of her van with 5 kids. I mean, why was she living in a van with 5 kids? Because Glenn Ford, according to Divine Jones, there's a police body cam where he says Glenn Ford used to beat up the kids, beat up Dorothy, abused them, cheated on her, kicked her out. And that he threatened to kill the ex-husband, Divine Jones. We have the body cam. We have the police body cam. We have that police body cam. Now, Mustafa meets Dorothy a month after that situation with Billy.
Fucking keep it up.
Glenn Ford just
Fucking keep it up. And goddamn it, I'm telling you.
Unbeknownst to him, Kylie is involved with these people and is formulating her opinion about her mom's boyfriend through the eyes of these people. At the same time, in a forensic interview, Kylie says something that's really interesting. She says, my dad is forcing me to be here. Your dad? Your father that works for Billy? Let's watch that forensic interview.
So, what is it that brought you here? Like, why are you here to talk to me today?
because my dad made me.
Because your dad made you.
Because my dad made me. Because my dad made me. Because my dad made me.
Did Kylie Clapp solicit to kill Mustafa because of Billy? I mean, the police department, the police mechanic, admit we have a body cam where they inspect Mustafa after the vehicle accident and they find brake failure, mechanical failure, transmission failure, the drive shaft disconnected from the transmission. There's mechanical failure. Did someone tamper with the car? We don't know. But we know that there's mechanical failure. Let's watch that police body cam. That Mustafa hit the brake and was hitting the brake the whole entire time. There's a computer inside the car that show Mustafa's foot was on the brake the whole entire time. There is some brake, and on dash camera you can see everybody shift forward. Mustafa hit the brake. There are skid marks before the intersection, but the brake gave out. This is a body cam of The police mechanic is inspecting the car, and he finds mechanical failure.
Do you want the calipers removed, or you can see brakes appear to be brand new.
These do. Well, if I was to ask
This is the police
you
mechanic.
if they were installed, and
This is the police body cam.
would you need to remove the calipers for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what the police mechanic
As long as we can make
is
sure
going to
that
ask the police
whoever
officer
put them on
to get a
them
bar,
correctly and look like they're not calling
depress the
it
brake,
issues,
and they're going to turn the tire.
I'm okay without the calipers coming off.
Hopefully they look good. If somebody
The back driver
Yeah.
stops. The front driver stops. But the back passenger and the front passenger keeps going. The tire keeps going. Even though you're hearing the brake, the tire keeps going. That's brake failure.
Hey, Cruz.
Mustafa did not have brake.
He's gonna spin that. Can you? That's fine. Can on your cam, can you see, record the stopping of the motion?
36. Well, we can do it the other way. I can push and you.
No, it's fine.
The other one?
No, I was.
I was like,
Go forward. Go forward. All right.
And he's got to push on the.
It works. Okay.
So it applies and releases.
Okay. Yeah. Just tell me when you're ready.
Pay attention to the driver. Front driver is working.
You
It
ready?
stops. But the back passenger and the front passenger,
I'm applying it.
this one's still
That
going.
one's still going? Okay.
Okay. So there's brake failure. When you watch the dash camera, this is the dash camera. The computer inside the vehicle show that Mustafa's foot was on the brake the whole entire time. When you watch the baby in the back, you see her shift forward twice. This is a dash camera. You'll see Mustafa's driving. And then at one point, 5-year-old Empress weight shifts forward. You see how, I'm going to go back just a little bit. You see how it shifts forward? Mustafa's weight shifts forward. He's hitting the brake. 5-year-old Empress shifts forward. The whole body shifts forward. Mustafa is hitting the brake. Now, the investigator and the prosecutor like to tell the community that Mustafa did not have a facial reaction. That Mustafa did not react. Wait a minute. When we actually watch the dash camera, we see Mustafa. Mouth is open. We see him sticking his tongue in panic. I mean, Mustafa is controlling the vehicle. What do you want him to do? He's attempting to control the vehicle. You want him to throw his hands in the air? That's the kind of reaction that you want? That's not good enough for you? His mouth is open. Sticking out his tongue. panicking. That's not a good enough panic for you. They like to lie to the community and tell the community Mustafa did not react and have a facial reaction to the vehicle accident. Now, one interesting factor in this case is this dash camera. Why is it cut before impact? Let's watch. This dash camera is a Rexon dash camera out of Best Buy. When Mustafa had a lawsuit against the police, there was a lot of harassment by the police, and the lawyer recommended that Mustafa gets a dash camera to document this harassment. One way to stop these police harassment, is to have a dash camera to protect yourself. Mustafa had a dash camera since 2018, and he had the best dash camera. A Rexon dash camera. If you were to buy a dash camera today, you wouldn't buy it from Walmart. You wouldn't buy it from Amazon. You would buy it from Best Buy. And you would buy a Rexon dash camera. It's a $500 dash camera. I feel like I'm in a info commercial advertising for Rexon. The best dash camera is Rexon. The police department position is that this dash camera does not have audio. Well, wait a minute. Why does a Rexon dash camera not have audio? For the past 2 years, they said that this dash camera does not have audio. Now, in light of the discovery being leaked out on the internet, there's a document in the discovery. By the way, it's sealed by the county. We have it, we're leaking it. We have a document that says Officer Zymus with the digital forensic admit that the audio capability is on and the audio is on the SD card. Where's the audio? That's a good question. Where's the audio? You've got a document that says your officer is admitting that there is audio. Why do we have a dash camera without an audio? They mute this dash camera. And they say that Mustafa was arguing with Dorothy and he crashed the vehicle on purpose. Unfortunately for this county, we have the dash camera. For the past 2 years, they released a deformed version of a dash camera. They cut it, they clipped it, and they released 5 seconds. And they tell you, take our word for it, this is what happened inside the vehicle. Unfortunately, for the police department and the prosecutor, we have the dash camera. Whatever is in the discovery, I have it. And I'm leaking it out. Now, the problem is, there is a document that says there is audio. This is a problem for them. Where's the audio? They mute it to lie about the content in this dash camera. Now, another disturbing detail in this dash camera is the dash camera cuts off before impact. Why would the dash camera cut off before impact? They say, yep, the dash camera stopped working. Wait a minute. Why? How? Before impact? I mean, I can understand if there was impact and the camera stopped working. But the camera stopped before impact. I mean, let's watch the dash camera. Mustafa is driving. He takes a lane. He's attempting to bypass the vehicle in front of him. He takes a lane. It turns out it's a U-turn lane. There's a vehicle to his right. Once he takes that lane, doesn't know it's a U-turn lane. By the way, it's a U-turn to nowhere. The road is weird. Takes a lane. At this point, he realizes he's in the wrong lane. He hits the brake. There's a vehicle to his right. He can't go right. He can't get back into traffic. He can't drive forward because there's a sidewalk right in front of you. Mustafa is going 55 miles an hour. The speed limit is 55. You can't go right. You can't get back into traffic. There's a vehicle that blocks you. You can't go straight. There's a sidewalk that's going to flip the car over. The only thing that you could do, you have 2 seconds to react, is to take an opening and make it all the way to the other side. You're already there. And Mustafa clears all the vehicles, makes it to the other side, and the SUV turns into him. How do we know that? Because the dash camera cuts off. We have an investigator on the scene, on his own body cam, that says exactly that. He says Mustafa cleared all the vehicles, made it to the other side, and all these are his brake marks. But the SUV turns into Mustafa. Now, back to our question, and we'll play that body cam in 2 seconds. Our question is, why does the dash camera cut off before impact? I don't have to tell you what I think. You're going to tell me what you think. They cut this dash camera. They cut the dash camera. Now, on this podcast, I can prove that they cut this dash camera. If we were to entertain the narrative that, okay, it stopped before impact, let's entertain that for 2 seconds. The question is, why does this dash camera stops at different frames? What am I talking about? When you take this dash camera and measure the frame, this dash camera, this Rexon dash camera, has an outer lens, a camera facing forward, and a camera facing inward. Now, they're both connected to the same computer in this dash camera. The lens facing outward and the camera facing inward is connected to the same computer inside this dash camera. Now, whoever's watching this, you can verify what I'm talking about. Look up the Rexon dash camera. And if you're an expert on cameras, join the conversation. Tell me how a dash camera cuts off on different frames. Now, the outside, if you measure the frames facing the camera facing outward, is 8.3 seconds. Inward, the camera facing inward, is 8.0 seconds. How does that happen? They're connected. The camera facing outward, camera facing inward is connected to the same computer inside this dash camera. If it were to stop, it would stop and fall on the same frame. The only way this would happen if they manually cut this dash camera by seconds and not by frames. I mean, this police department is so incompetent that they chopped up this dash camera by seconds. What am I talking about? Let's measure the frames. They say this dash camera records in 1 minute increments, from the minute it starts until the last time it stops. Now, in the discovery, you have 1 minute files, and then you have an 8.3 second file, and then you have another one. Facing outward is 8.3. Facing inward is 8.0. What they've done, they cut it at 8 seconds. They didn't realize they didn't cut it by frame. Let's measure the frames. Now, this is an app that measures frame. 0.0. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and it goes all the way to, you see that number right there? It goes all the way to 8.3. 6.7, 6.4, blah, 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 8.3. Now, when it gets to 8.3, the camera inside cuts off. But the camera outside keeps rolling. It cuts off at 8.0. How does that make any kind of sense? How does that make any sense? Let's measure the frames. 7.1, 7.2, 7.4, 7.5, 6, 7.7, 7.8, 7.9. Then it cuts off. But the camera facing outward continues to roll all the way to 8.3, but the inside cuts off at 8.0. Even if I were to entertain the narrative from the police department that it stopped working, it wouldn't fall on different frames unless you manually cut it. This is proof that this police department out of Prince William County here in Virginia chopped up the dash camera. But the question is, why? Why would the police department cut the dash camera? Now, their narrative is Mustafa does not have a reaction. It's interesting that you cut this dash camera right when Mustafa is beginning to have a reaction. Let's watch. At 6.6, at 5.7, Mustafa slams on the brake. And you see Empress body shifts forward. Let's zoom in. Here, you see Empress body shifts forward. You see that? You see Empress shifting forward. Mustafa's shoulder moves forward. When you're hitting the brake, your body shifts forward. Empress body shifts forward. The car doesn't stop. The computer inside the car shows that Mustafa's foot on the brake the whole entire time. Mustafa began to react and panic. You see his mouth wide open. And then right after his mouth is wide open, Mustafa began to react even more. The car doesn't stop. He sticks out his tongue inside his cheeks. This is a very distinctive feature for Mustafa. When Mustafa is panicking, he sticks out his tongue inside his cheeks. And then Mustafa begins to open his mouth a little bit more. And the camera cuts off. It cuts off at 8.0. But the outside camera continues rolling. And you want to tell me that this police department did not cut this dash camera? See how it stops? But the outside continue rolling. They cut this dash camera to avoid showing Mustafa's full reaction and not show the rest of the impact. I mean, this is a dash camera. This is a body cam of the investigators on the scene admit this is a vehicle accident. The same investigators who gets on the stand in court and falsify the police reports that say Mustafa had no skid marks, did not do anything to avoid a vehicle. This was a head-on collision, is on the scene saying that Mustafa did everything he can to avoid a vehicle accident. All these are his skid marks. He cleared the vehicle all the way to the other side, and the SUV turned into him. Now, I want to remind everybody, Mustafa is charged with murder, premeditated murder. How could it be premeditated and how could it be murder if he's doing everything he can to avoid a vehicle accident? That's a major question. You're telling me that he hits the brake, his foot is on the brake the whole entire time. He avoids every vehicle. He hits the brake before the intersection. He finds himself in a position where he's on the wrong lane. And he's hitting the brake. The computer inside the vehicle showed that he's hitting the brake. There are skid marks before the intersection. He's not speeding. He's not reckless. He just took the wrong lane. He's not from Dumfries. He's from Stafford. He's not familiar with these roads. He took the wrong lane. And he does everything he can to avoid a vehicle accident. That's not me saying it. That's what the investigator himself is saying on the scene. But of course, they seal off that body cam, falsify the police report, and they think that this doesn't exist anymore. Well, unfortunately for them, it's being leaked. It's all over the internet. Let's watch Investigator Drum say that Mustafa cleared the vehicle all the way on the other side, only for the SUV to turn into him, and all these are his skid marks. Let's watch.
So driver's not buckled. Neither is mom's driving shotgun.
Awesome, but at least the kid was.
Kid was buckled.
Now that's unique, because on the news, 2 days into this vehicle accident, they said investigators say, NBC4 ran a reported on the news. They reported that investigators say, it was all over the news. Investigators say 5-year-old Empress was not buckled, and Mustafa intentionally drove into head-on collision. That's what the news said. If you look it up, that's what the news was saying. But here on the scene, we have the investigators saying that Mustafa did everything he can to avoid a vehicle accident, and 5-year-old Empress is buckled.
I'm guessing she was half ejected because that whole side's food barred. She was buckled.
Yeah. Looks like I'll be coming in tomorrow.
So you see your marks now, Drum?
The AOI is somewhere around here. That comes all the way back to about right here.
I think they hit. He was in that y'all. He just continued to spun her around, almost in place. Because your marks end right around in here.
So
figure that away. So I mean, those are definitely theirs. AOI somewhere. It doesn't come off till here.
So you think that's the free tire?
I think so, because it comes here and rotates.
What's causing the infinity mark right here, buddy, by this AOI?
Well, this is spinning, but it only spun once. Because that's all the drag marks from the front right. That's all fucked up right there.
It's greasy.
Did you have skid from him? Yeah, so that's all him. He spun twice.
Did you have skids from him? That's all
On
him.
the right, which caused him to flip that way.
But he gets on the stand. Chad Mason gets on the stand and says Mustafa had no skid marks, nothing. Do you honestly think, does this prosecutor think that she's going to get away with sealing off body cam and falsifying police reports, and we're going to put this investigator on this and get away with it? The whole community is watching these body cams and are asking the question, Judge Carol Weimer, you sealed off these body cams. When this investigator gets on the stand, you sealed off this body cam, and you knew this investigator lied to you. We're in circuit court. And we're watching Judge Carol Weimer allows this to exist in his courtroom. I mean, this is among so many other things that Judge Carol Weimer knows and seen, and he sealed these body cams from the community and is allowing this to exist in his. For the past 2 years, Judge Carol Weimer rules in the favor of the prosecutor, knowing that she's lying about Mustafa.
Regarding the falsified police reports, and they said there was no skid marks.
I don't have to tell you that Judge Carol Weimer is impartial. The more you watch this podcast and you watch these body cam and go through the record, circuit court is on the record. Everything Judge Carol Weimer rules on and says, and everybody that says, is on the record. Now I'm going to take this to a whole new level. I have the recordings inside of Judge Carol Weimer's proceeding. All of them. And on this podcast, we're going to listen to what the prosecutor says, how Judge Carol Weimer is ruling in her favor and allowing her to lie about Mustafa. And you tell me if Judge Carol Weimer is impartial. Now, before anybody say, oh, you're not supposed to record inside the courtroom, I don't record it. I was supplied this recording by the same individual that supplied me with the body cams, the discovery material, a police officer out of Prince William County. A police officer that's not okay with police misconduct. They're supplying me with body cams, documents, discovery documents, audio recording from proceeding inside of Judge Carol Weimer's courtroom.
His own discovery to prepare for trial.
And we're going to continue to have this conversation. Let's continue listening to this body cam where Investigator Drum says the SUV turned into Mustafa. Mustafa cleared the SUV. So you're telling me a man that clears all the vehicles, hits the brake. You're saying that his brake failed. You inspected his car and you said his brake failed. In your own word, you said he cleared all the vehicle. Is being charged with murder? Of course, you're going to seal his body cams, falsify his police reports, and hope that the community is not going to get a hold of it. Is the police department in a tough position? Yes, it is. It's been 2 years.
And then it finally broke off with Soup. No, that's her. They're coming in sideways. Yep. Gets popped, rotates. And she just rolls backwards. So here's the question: which way did they? Because she comes straight, she hits. She would have turned into it.
The only way this vehicle accident would happen is if she turned into him. Now, would it surprise you to know? Would it surprise you to know that the SUV driver never hit the brake? She's going 70 miles an hour. I have the Discovery, the computer inside her car. She's going 70 miles an hour, and she never hit the brake, and she turns into Mustafa. Would it surprise you to know that she's a PLS patient? A PLS patient, you have weak motor function in your lower extremities or your upper extremities. You don't have to take my word for it. Let's listen to the body cam of Investigator Drum.
Grab her phone out of the car here. It's up to this gentleman right here. That's good. Can you all step up on the medium real quick? This car's gonna pull out. You got it? Phone? No, I'm also no, she's a BLS patient. Thank you.
She's a PLS patient. Do you know what kind of medication you're on when you're a PLS patient? No wonder you didn't hit the brake. You turned into them. But the terrifying part about the whole entire thing is none of this in the discovery. Nowhere in the discovery, in the written report, that says that she was going 70 miles an hour. Nowhere in the report do you find that she's a PLS patient on medication that she shouldn't be on the road. Nowhere in the report that says she turned into him. So you're going to falsify the police report, the written report, seal off body cam, and in the prosecutor, you have a prosecutor who screams in court reading falsified police reports. I mean, what is she doing? She's going off police reports that are falsified. And you want to tell me Judge Carol Weimer is not aware of this game that they're playing? He's the one that sealed off the body cams and the discovery. We're bringing back the point. We're bringing back the conversation to, has the police targeted Mustafa? Well, the body cams that we have show that the police department have targeted Mustafa to turn a tragic vehicle accident into today we have Mustafa being charged with murder. Now, would it surprise you to know that I have a body cam where the minute that the officer showed up on scene, the minute they identified Mustafa, the conversation no longer became a vehicle accident. Even though the witness is telling you Mustafa is in a concussion, he thinks it's 2022, and Obama's the president. Drum turns around to his police officers and he tells him he's on drugs. Mustafa's blood has no alcohol and no drugs. Mustafa does not do drugs. Mustafa, to sit here and label Mustafa as a drug user while he's in a coma right in front of his vehicle is a problem. Why are you labeling him as a drug user? Why? Because he sued you? He has an active lawsuit against you? That you're no longer interested. Once you know it's Mustafa, we're going to steer this investigation into, oh, he did it on purpose. You're on the scene saying this is a vehicle accident. This is Officer Casey Fines, who shows up on scene. Who shows up on scene laughing at Mustafa while he's laying in front of his vehicle. He's in a coma. Laughing at Mustafa and freely labeling Mustafa, knowing him is probably drug related. Let's listen.
Witnesses, anybody say what happened?
Yeah, there's a lady sitting over here in the black. She saw everything. Okay. I believe. This car is the at-home. This is the driver of that vehicle.
Thank you.
Just sit down.
By the way, Mustafa's right there. He's in a coma right in front of his vehicle. Casey Fine looks at him, turns to Investigator Drum, laughs, knowing him. It's probably drug related. Mustafa's blood, no alcohol, no drugs. They do a toxicology. Mustafa's in a coma. Mustafa's being helicoptered to the hospital. This is a major vehicle accident that Mustafa lost his family in it. And you have an officer freely labeling Mustafa the way he wants. You want to tell me that my brother is a drug user? Where are the police reports? Where are the incident reports? Mustafa has no criminal history, does not do drugs, and to sit here and have an officer show up and freely label you, knowing that this is going on in the background, when we asked the lawyer, Mustafa's lawyer, that was representing Mustafa's lawsuit against the police, he tells you, I have no doubt that Mustafa his police report is falsified, that they beat him because he had a lawsuit against the police. This is the lawyer.
Investigator that wrote the report, he lied on the report. We recorded that conversation.
I'm sure he did.
Yes, sir.
Frankly, I'm sure they all know that you sued the Stafford cops. And they beat your brother up because they know that you sued the Stafford cops.
Yes.
So here you have a Mustafa in this county who walks around with a chip on his shoulder telling you, my family is military, I have rights in this country, I have a constitution that protects me, and I'm going to sue you for violating my rights. Mustafa has an active lawsuit, over $500,000 lawsuit. And he was getting harassed left and right. We'll take a deep dive into this lawsuit and how the police were harassing Mustafa every other day. I was with him. And I got to witness this harassment. That because of it, Mustafa got a dash camera. There's a dash camera inside his car. But what did they do? They take your dash camera, mute it, cut it, and seal it. What's the point of having a dash camera if your dash camera is going to be sealed? And now that we have it, they're terrified. This officer is labeling a man that's in a coma in front of his vehicle and steers the conversation. No longer, this is a vehicle accident. They've identified it's a Mustafa.
So asphalt so far. Crossed over when oncoming traffic?
I'm not 100% sure. Knowing him though, it's probably drug related.
Okay. If that's the case, I want somebody to go get a blood draw. If he's driving?
They said he's driving, but I've had contact with him before, not driving, but he was out of it.
See if somebody can do a blood draw on him.
Where's the incident report? I've had contact with him. He was out of it. Where's the incident report? There is no incident report. To freely say that and just put a label on someone while you're in a coma in front of your... It's not okay. This is the officer identifying Mustafa, identifying Mustafa's girlfriend, Dorothy, identifying the kids, and tell Investigator Drum, we've been watching him. Well, heck yeah, you've been watching him. He's got a giant lawsuit against you. The police department had a lawyer. The lawyer had private investigators that are watching Mustafa. And the police, private investigators, that lawyer private that's representing the police, they have every resource that the police department has to offer to them. Of course you're watching them. As a matter of fact, this is what you say on the body cam.
Yeah? You don't remember his name?
Mustafa is his name.
Mustafa.
I called Duplessis. I got his name, mom's name, and kid's name. That's the deadline.
Mustafa is his name. I called Officer Duplessis. And I got his name. So Officer Duplessis with patrol is watching Mustafa. Well, obviously you're watching Mustafa. He has a giant lawsuit against you. And now that it's a Mustafa, we're going to take advantage of this vehicle accident. That we're going to bring Kylie. We're gonna bring Kylie and allow her to lie about Mustafa. Bring Glenn Ford and allow him to lie about Mustafa. We have a dash camera that shows the whole entire thing is a vehicle accident. We have the computer inside the vehicle that shows that Mustafa's foot was on the brake the whole entire time. We have the investigators themselves admit this is a vehicle accident. That Mustafa cleared all the vehicles. These are all his skid marks. And the SUV turned into Mustafa. We have the police mechanic inspect the vehicle and find brake failure and transmission failure. But because it's Mustafa, this is no longer a vehicle accident. We're going to allow individuals to manufacture probable cause about Mustafa. I mean, Mustafa's been held in a county jail for the past 2 years because of probable cause, manufactured probable cause. You have Kylie, who her dad works for Billy, the club owner. She's repeating the same sentiments that the strippers are saying about Mustafa. They no longer love Mustafa because their boss went viral. Their boss goes viral. No longer. Mustafa is a hard-working man, an entrepreneur, and let me help you promote your heat warmer. I cannot wait to be in court and show those exhibits to the jury. I've got so many videos, you have no idea. I'm the guy that records everything, remember? I went with my brother every time he went there. I had a small company that was dedicated for the Marines. Every time a Marine gets stuck, I have a roadside assistant company. And to expand my company, I would go with my brother. This is my company. Beautiful company. And I would go with my brother. I would pass out my card to expand into that area. And I would help my brother promote his business. I would sell the heat warmers for him. I would promote his company and pass out my cards. I have... They want to lie about my brother? Well, fuck around, find out. Because I've got so many videos that's going to expose what you're doing. The only reason Billy got upset, the only reason this happened,
Get the fuck off my property!
I mean, why is he so angry at Mustafa? I mean, there were rumors that he was selling drugs out of his club. And here you have us go in front of his club and promote our business. You're bringing attention to his operation. Billy Bain out of Crystal City in Arlington. Everybody knows what Billy Bain does out of that club. I mean, and here we come out of nowhere trying to make a living by selling our equipment, by selling the heat warmers. And he's not happy. Not here, you won't. I'm selling drugs. He's selling drugs out of his club. And here we have a whole entire business selling heat warmers in front of his club. You want him not to get upset?
I got this holding on.
If you're from Arlington, Virginia, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
How many times have you heard of?
The same strippers that love Mustafa no longer love Mustafa. This video goes viral. The community started boycotting that business. A fat racist white man is kicking Mustafa out of a public parking lot for making a living. The community does not stand for this racism. The community stopped boycotting him. He goes famous. He becomes famous. I mean, what do you think that does to his drug operation? I remember 3 weeks after this incident, Mustafa's vehicle gets tampered with, and his whole entire Cadillac Converter gets stolen. I have a video where someone in the parking lot had recorded and gave it to us. We gave it to the police. The police would downplay the whole thing and tell Mustafa, let your mobile mechanic brother help you. You're reporting a crime to the police. Well, I'm not surprised that they're telling my brother that. He has an active lawsuit against him. A month after that situation, Mustafa meets Dorothy, who her daughter, apparently, her dad works for Billy. And is hanging around those strippers. Now, does Billy have anything to do with my brother's vehicle where the brake didn't work? Did Billy have anything to do tampering with the vehicle? Did he influence Kylie Clapp in any way to go up and solicit Glenn Ford to kill Mustafa? We have her on a recorded line. She likes to say, I'm a minor. Ma'am, you can't hide behind being a minor. You were 16 at the time. Today you're 18. And forget all that. You're no longer a minor when you're soliciting to kill somebody. We have you on a recorded line where Glenn Ford says, can we kill Mustafa and make it look like an accident?
Especially the older daughter. Like, she wanted me to shoot, like, kill him. The older daughter. Like, where? Like, could you please, like, if I make it look like, so, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, something, and it's like self-defense, would you do it? And I'm like, bro, no.
When Mustafa met Dorothy, Dorothy was living out of her van with 5 kids. Mustafa and Dorothy fell in love, and they were moving forward with their life. Mustafa gets an apartment. And Dorothy was moving forward with her life. Now, did Dorothy's daughter, who wasn't living with her, she was living with her father, feel abandoned? I mean, Glenn Ford tells us a lot into Kylie. Kylie, at the time, was 16. She likes to tell her mom what to do and is involved with drugs, is involved with prostitution. And her mom, in a forensic interview, Kylie says, Mom is choosing my boyfriend over me. Is that motive to lie about Mustafa's character? Yeah. Yeah, that's motive. She felt abandoned. Is it motive that could it be Billy influencing her in a way? I mean, she's on a recorded line. Glenn Ford says she went up to him, solicited to kill Mustafa. Is it Billy? Is it because she felt abandoned? We don't know. But at the end of the day, we have a witness, a star witness that the police department is using who has a motive. A month before the vehicle accident, this girl sneaks into a vehicle and records a video attempting to frame Mustafa abusing 5-year-old Empress. We played it the other day, and you can tell 5-year-old Empress had no idea what Kylie's talking about. The video is chopped up into 5 portions. She's sitting there mugging at 5-year-old Empress and attempting to solicit an answer from her. It's a desperate effort to frame Mustafa. I mean, this girl has a motive, but for the police department to use her as a star witness is a problem. And now the police department is terrified. The prosecutor is terrified in light of the body cams that are sealed, that we get to have this conversation, that these details are coming out to the community. She's no longer the star witness. This is a liability. This is a fuck up for the prosecutor. Prosecutor Sarah Sammy is panicking right now. You have Kylie soliciting to kill Mustafa. She's connected with the strip club. the strippers that they want to use into Mustafa's characters, they have a motive to lie about Mustafa. Glenn Ford is a pedophile who's on a recorded line talking about killing Mustafa. This is a major problem for the prosecutor. This is a major problem for Judge Carol Weimer. He's under a microscope. On that note, before we end this beautiful podcast, I always want to direct everybody's attention to the characters that we have here on this table. I've been protesting for my brother for the past 2 years. That I've coined the term a barefooted monkey. Our beautiful, beautiful Mary Jo, an individual who's from Arlington, who's watching all of this, came out and got me a monkey. And this monkey is sitting down with another character, Ursula from The Mermaid, that looks like the star witness, Amy Hodgkins. Amy Hodgkins is on a body cam that tells Investigator Drum, I don't know Mustafa, I don't know Dorothy. But she sits there and she paints Mustafa a monster. She says Mustafa is abusive to Dorothy, Mustafa is abusive to the kid, but I didn't see anything. She says, talk to Kylie, the 16-year-old that had a motive. Today, we have her on the internet for the past 2 years. She's on the internet under Christine Alcuzai. I like to mess around and call her Christine Alcaraz. My friend East, who's a major person on TikTok. She has a giant account. And she coined the term Christine Alcaraz. So I play around with the last name and I call her Christine Alcaraz. And that drives her crazy. Now, if you go on TikTok and type Christine Warda, you'll find Amy Hodgkins, the witness. We have her on a body cam, telling Investigator Drum a lot of lies. And then she says, I didn't see anything. Talk to Kylie to find Amy Hodgkins. This is Amy Hodgkins. This is me. Reach out to Christine Warda, and she's going to troll the conversation. She's going to lie. She's been lying about the case for the past 2 years. She likes to tell people her name is Christine Alcuzai. You can find her on TikTok as Christine Warda. I ask you to go there, listen to what she tells you, and ask her for receipts. Now, be careful how you ask her for receipts, because if you ask her for receipts, she might block you. She might use her friend, who's the wife of the investigator, that's on the live with her, the investigator that lied, under Kate0707. This is the wife of the investigator who falsified the police report, Kate0707. She might use her friend, Stephanie Claiborne. But on TikTok, it's under Kate0707. This is Kate, the wife of the investigator, who's on the body cam. She might use her to look you up, use Prince William County Police Department resources, look you up, and by the time you wake up in the morning, your kids are going to be all over the internet. Now, we have a lot of people that are here for Mustafa that they're dealing with the same issue. My 4-year-old niece is on the internet. They've posted pictures of my 4-year-old niece. I ask you to go on her account, ask her, engage her in a conversation about the Mustafa Al-Jazari case. Ask her for receipts, and then come back here. Ask me questions, and we're going to take a deep dive into Mustafa's discovery, Mustafa's body cams, and what they've been doing to Mustafa Al-Jazari. And I ask, you don't have to take my word for it in anything. I'm not here to make up your mind for you. I have body cams, I have a dash camera, I have a discovery, I have individuals that are lying and framing my brother. And every day I come here and I talk about it. I've been talking about it for the past 2 years. That I coined, been protesting in front of the jail for 2 years, where the sheriff arrested me for exposing what they're doing to my brother and other individuals in the county. That I coined the term a barefooted monkey. This is Amy Hodgkins. I mean, this is what she looks like. One day on TikTok, she accidentally popped up. She never turns on her camera, by the way. But TikTok is unique because if you come too close, people see what you look like. And I got her. I got it. So now we know what she looks like. This is what she likes to tell people, by the way. She says that's what she looks like. I mean, you don't have to take my word for it. This is a cartoon character. Heavily filtered. I mean, why would you filter a cartoon? I mean, I've heard about people pull filter on their face. But to filter a cartoon is already a cartoon. This is what she looks like. So we have her here on the table. We have the barefooted monkey. That's me. And we're asking every day. And we're reaching out to Amy Hodgkins, a.k.a. Christine Alcazar, to join us on a podcast in front of the FBI building. In front of the FBI building, it's public property. We put a table, a couple of chairs. Maybe for Amy Hodgkins, we're going to have multiple chairs. And we ask her to come out and have a conversation with us. In light of the body cams, the dash camera, the discovery being all over the internet, let's now troll the conversation. You claim that you're there fighting for Dorothy and Empress. Ma'am, I've yet to hear you talk about Dorothy and Empress. Dorothy and Empress were not helicoptered by the police. A 5-year-old baby is put in an ambulance and over an hour away from the scene to the hospital during rush hour, and the helicopter is right there. Why would you not helicopter 5-year-old Empress? Why would you not helicopter my brother's girlfriend? I mean, my brother is in solitary. Every day he says, why did they not helicopter my family? They helicoptered him instead. Why are we not asking these questions? That's one of the questions that we're asking. Keep us in your prayers. On that note, we're going to end this podcast. Mustafa's Legal Fund. Every day we come here and we ask the community to donate into Mustafa's Legal Fund. Mustafa's Legal Fund is a Cash App. It's a $sign Mustafa Legal Fund. Literally, it's a Cash App. We ask the community to donate so we can get Mustafa a lawyer. We ask you to keep my brother in your prayers. We ask you to keep the family in your prayers. And pray that we can get justice for Mustafa, his girlfriend Dorothy, and 5-year-old Empress. And thank you for being here. This is not another boring podcast. I want to thank everybody, Casey, Stefana, Farah, East. And this is beautiful. Mustafa, before we end the podcast, is calling from Prince William County Adult Detention Center. This is beautiful.
To refuse it. Your current balance is $5.98. This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording.
Thank you for using Global Tellink.
Mustafa, hello. You're on a podcast. This is not another boring podcast. Thank you for being here.
Hey, what's going on, man?
What's up, man? I was just getting ready to end the podcast. We covered a lot of details. And just when I was about to end the podcast, you called, and it was a beautiful way into the podcast. Thank you for being here. I love you, man. I miss you.
Hey, it's my pleasure to announce that I'm still here. I'm still breathing. And I'm going to be out very soon. And I just want to thank all my supporters. I also want to give a shout out to all my haters out there. Amy Hodgson, a.k.a. Christine Alcazar, Glenn Ford, Kylie Clapp, who's claiming to be a minor. She's an adult now, so now she gets to go to the adult detention center with her father, Jason Clapp, who all conspired to kill me.
and Robert Drum. I'll take your badge. And your wife, who's not a police officer, but she's involved in utilizing the police department resources and doing illegal activities, intimidating, slandering, defaming, posting people's kids online.
You know, Mustafa, we just got done talking about the investigator Robert Drum's wife, Stephanie Claiborne, who likes to tell people that she's K0707 on the internet. We just got done talking about her. And every day we're going to continue to talk about her.
And the prosecutor, what does she do? She sequesters the jury, and she trespasses all my family members out of the courthouse. A public trial. And she wants to have a private trial where they want to lock me up and throw me away, and they seal everything. Well, unfortunately for them, everything is out. The seal's been broken. The world is watching. And you're telling me someone of a higher authority is going to be okay with this?
You know,
wait until the law takes effect. I'm going to be released immediately.
You know, Mustafa, I want to ask you. You know, I'll tell you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I get to lay flowers like a real man. You know, with dignity and respect. I get to actually stand up and say, you know, I can breathe. I'm sitting here in solitary confinement because of evil individuals who made false allegations about me that don't even know me. So I'm sitting in jail. I get assaulted, beaten by giant correctional officers because of statements of certain individuals that put against me. These titles, a murderer. I'm not a murderer. I got into a car accident. Someone tampered with my vehicle.
He said he never saw his thermals again.
Or is it Jason Clapp? Or who is it? Oh.
You know, Mustafa.
Clapp said my dad is a piercer, and he pierces all these strippers at Crystal City, who works for Billy, William Bain Jr.
These details, everybody is finding out about these details. We literally have them on a recorded line. And the prosecutor has a problem right now. The prosecutor is like, can everybody stop talking on the internet? They can't help themselves. You have Kylie Clapp running her mouth on the internet. You have Glenn Ford running his mouth on the internet. You have Amy Hodgkins on the internet, and she thinks that if she calls herself Al-Quzai on the internet, no one is going to find out. Well, the diddlers have been identified, like you said, Mustafa. And now we're connecting the puzzle. That literally, Amy Hodgkins is on private. She went private. Mustafa, I've never seen someone literally advertise her page, and the lady is running the wrong direction. She goes on private.
She was writing me love letters here. King Mustafa, the disposer of all affairs. You're going to be okay. Just pray. You're innocent. I've read all of your discovery. You're an innocent man. You're going to come out. That's what she's been telling me while I was getting choked out. I was getting beat up in here. On a weekly basis, I was getting beat up. And I'm over here thinking, like, who is this lady who is claiming to advocate for me under the name of Christine Al-Quzai? It's Amy Hodgson. And she's on the body camera talking to Robert Drum. And his wife is in the background, who's not even a police officer. And he's going to forward over the email that Amy Hodgson sent to Robert Drum. What the hell is going on? What is this? Sherlock Holmes and whoever the fuck it is? What are they doing here investigating a so-called murder case if she doesn't work for the police department?
This is disturbing. You know, we were talking about we were talking about the police department and how they allowed these individuals to manufacture probable cause. I mean, they're allowing these individuals to lie. I mean, what's more than Amy Hodgkins, Kylie, and Glenn Ford literally say on a body cam, Mustafa's abusive to Dorothy, his girlfriend. Mustafa's abusive to the kids, but we didn't see it. What's more than, I mean, what is hearsay? Hearsay is you're alleging something, but you didn't see it. They're literally saying it on their own body cam.
And what they factor in is credibility, and look at the background and motive. Look at what's going on here. Look at the motive, and look at the credibility of the person that's alleging, who's making these statements. And what's even more disturbing is that the prosecutor, Amy Kotlowski Ashford, knows about all of this because she has access to the whole discovery and she has access to the body cameras and everything. And what they do with Sarah Sammy and Stephanie Buck, they go to the judge, Judge Weimer, seal everything. Seal it from the public. Seal it from anyone that wants to investigate so we cannot connect the dots. And look at what happened now. The dots are connecting.
And they're getting upset.
To the puzzle.
And they're upset. You know, Mustafa, I want to ask you a question about the judge, the lawyer that you have now. I mean, you called him when? 2 days ago?
That's right.
Okay. What happened in that conversation? What did you ask him? What did he tell you? What was the content of the conversation?
Well, I was talking to his secretary.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was talking to his secretary. She's telling me he has a lot of cases. He's really busy.
Okay.
And he doesn't have time for me.
He doesn't have time for you. Okay.
He doesn't have time to give me the discovery. When I had a conversation with him previously, he's like, I have to check the protective order to see if he can give me the discovery. So you're telling me the prosecutors got the judge to seal the discovery and the whole world has the discovery except for me. So they're sealing the discovery from me. I'm in solitary confinement 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, total lockdown.
I mean, Mustafa, no recreation, no nothing for 2 years. Okay?
Yeah.
And they sealed off the entire discovery from you. Not a portion of it, the entire discovery from you, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Now, in what world, under what law, under what code can you charge someone and seal off the discovery from them? I mean, at what point are you tampering with the due process? How could Mustafa have a due process if he can't see what you're charging him with?
In Vietnam, they will do that. In Vietnam, somewhere deep in the jungle, somewhere where nobody can hear you, nobody can see you, nobody can smell you. They can do that. But we're on American soil. I'm an American citizen. I've never committed a crime in my life. And I'm sitting here being tortured like this in Prince William County in Manassas, Virginia. You're telling me this is allowed? No, it's not allowed.
It's illegal.
But without exposure, exactly, it's illegal, absolutely. But you have a lot of players that are in position to do the cover-up. But once that right authoritative figure sees what the hell's going on this local level, he's going to say, what the hell are you guys doing? Everybody's fired? You're not just going home, you're fired, go home. No, you're going to jail. They belong in prison.
You know,
Tyler Clapp conspired to kill me. And you're telling me that's okay? That's Glenn Ford saying it out of his mouth. That's going to come into court.
Yep.
And I'm going to have, under the Sixth Amendment, the confrontation clause, I'm going to confront this individual, cross-examine him and say, what did you say? Let's put that on the record. So you guys have been plotting to kill me this whole time.
There's a motive to lie about you.
Have been plotting. And what's disturbing is that his charges were dismissed. What kind of deal did he have?
Mustafa, a gun charge, intent to distribute, drug charges, be intoxicated in public, they all mysteriously disappear?
These are serious charges.
Nene,
And you're telling me
Kim Coleman, she has a hit and run. That mysteriously disappears?
Wow. Charges mysteriously disappeared. And everybody out of the courtroom, anyone that's forced Mustafa out, sequester the jury. We need to hide their identity. Let's justify it by saying we don't need their names out there for security purposes. They're concealing the true motive behind the title. And when they seal the whole discovery, that's the motive for you right there.
I mean, I'll tell you, we're taking a deep dive into this discovery, and the only thing that we see is all of it falsified. It's all a lie. They've weaponized kids against you. Lie to kids. Lie to kids. And that's not child abuse. They lie to the kids. Glenn Ford, I've got a forensic interview of Imagine. I'm going to release tomorrow. Imagine in a forensic interview says, and by the way, I have documents that Glenn Ford, the ex-boyfriend, the one that's lying about Mustafa, is at the hospital. And he takes a picture of 5-year-old Empress. She has her head cut open. He takes a picture, and he goes to a 10-year-old child and shows him his 5-year-old baby sister in that condition. Why? The question is why. This is not me saying it. This is, imagine Dorothy, 10-year-old, is saying to a forensic lady, he said, Glenn Ford is bringing and showing me a picture. Now, my question is, what's a 40-year-old man showing a 10-year-old child a picture of his 5-year-old sister, head cut open? You're influencing and you're tampering with these, and you're creating an environment. I mean, you're on the internet saying that Mustafa, you're lying about Mustafa on day one. On the internet, he's putting out posts on the Prince William County Police Department official page. I have the snapshots. He says 3 things. Mustafa's on the run. Mustafa did this on purpose. And Mustafa is abusive to Dorothy and the kids. You're putting out a narrative on day one. And you have the kids in your possession. Now you're taking a picture and you're showing it to them. And the next day, you take out Imagine. You take out the kids that are 9 and 10. And you show them around the neighborhood. You take them to the local 7-Eleven. You build an environment that Mustafa is guilty. Mustafa abused your mom. Mustafa did this. He intentionally did it. That's what you're telling the kids. The kids are in your possession. And then you take him to the local 7-Eleven. And you have people talk to this 10-year-old child. And this child just lost his mother. And you're giving him someone to blame. The only... Jaden, in a forensic interview, is sitting there beating himself up. He says, I trusted Mustafa. I loved Mustafa. Mom always told me to trust Mustafa. Only after the investigator told me that Mustafa ran away, left my 5-year-old baby sister in the car, and if he hadn't run away, my 5-year-old baby sister would have still been alive today. That's what the police are telling a 14-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old. I mean, I have the forensic interviews on the internet. And you want to tell me that's not weaponizing the kids against Mustafa? That's child abuse. And they're angry that everything is being exposed. They sealed everything. By law, I've yet to see a case that's not a federal case, that's not connected with the mob. I mean, the only time you seal off a case is it's a federal case, and it's the mob. You're prosecuting the mob. This is a vehicle accident. It's in circuit court. Why is it sealed? And the community is coming to the same conclusion that we've been living for the past 2 years. They falsified the police reports. They targeted Mustafa and are weaponizing kids and are using individuals like Glenn Ford, Amy Hodgkins, Kylie Clapp to fabricate that were not there. That they tell you on their body cams, they're not there. We were never there. We didn't see anything. To fabricate and create probable cause. And that's going to stop now that we're exposing it. They're terrified. Mustafa, they're terrified. I mean, your lawyer tells you, I don't know if I can share the discovery with you. Does he not realize the discovery is being discussed on the internet every day? Does he not realize that the body cams and the documents all over the internet?
When the prosecutor, Sarah Sammy, at the end, like the last hearing, whenever that was, like back in November 20th or whatever,
Yeah.
he told the judge, oh, Your Honor, we have to get this new protective order. The judge just looked at her, and as if like everybody's looking at her like, what are you talking about? What protective order? What is there to protect anymore? It's like someone is like fully naked, and everybody's seeing everything. What else are you?
You're already out there. I mean, Your Honor, like, what are you talking about? The judge is so confused and is so pissed off at the situation that it didn't work. And this prosecutor still runs her mouth in court. She's like, there is a protective order, Your Honor. What protective order? It's all over the internet.
Look,
Amy Hodgkins is literally sitting on a table with me.
Listen, what they're doing here is a disservice to the community by trying to get a false conviction. They're doing everything in their power to try to get a false conviction. They have to get a conviction.
Well, it's not going to work.
Not today.
It's not going to work.
Lifetime. Not in any lifetime. Not ever.
I'll tell you. They don't realize you're a paralegal.
They try to kill me. I'm still alive. You can't. I'm strong. I'm strong willpower. Life or death is in God's hands. Okay. And
I'll tell you.
Today, till the last day I stop breathing, they're going to be exposed for what they did to me and what they've done to a lot of people here. There's no more beatings here.
I'll tell you.
Beatings here.
Yep. I'll tell you, the same God that protected you in that vehicle accident is the same God that protected you in the beating inside the jail with these correctional officers. Is the same God that's exposing and putting your discovery and body cam all over the internet. And God has a way to bring you justice, to bring your girlfriend Dorothy justice, to bring 5-year-old Empress justice. I mean, we're sitting here asking for a miracle. The miracles are already happened. And God is just seeing this through.
Everything's coming out. Everything's coming out. And I'm sitting here just patiently waiting. And nobody can mask a smell. If something stinks, it stinks. No matter how much you try to put deodorant, no matter how much you try to Febreze it, it smells. You're not going to put lipstick on a pig and say it's cute. It's a pig. It stinks. Stop trying to cover up the stench. Clean up the foundation, the base.
Exactly.
And then deodorize.
Exactly.
Then, have the etiquette of cleanliness. Don't sit here and try to deodorize poop. It's poop. You have to flush it. You have to clean properly. But they sit here and they mask the smell. And when an inspector comes in, if they're biased or whatever, they're going to say, okay, let's go ahead and do the cover-up. They're a part of it. But if a non-biased inspector and does an audit and sees what the hell's going on here, this whole place is going to get shut down.
I'll tell you, the FBI got involved. They pretend to run an investigation. And they told us nothing happened to you. There is nothing going on in this jail. Well, now we have the CCTV. And we have other files in this county. And we see that there is a common practice in Prince William County, in this jail, that anytime you have a beating or abuse or police misconduct or a falsified information, falsified police report, there is no accountability. There is no accountability. Instead, they seal off the body cam. And that goes to the point of what you're talking about. That shit stinks. Don't mask it. Don't mask it. Because guess what? Everything is on the internet. And we get to have a podcast and talk about it every day. And people are watching.
Let me tell you something real quick. Let me just go in order of what I'm trying to explain here.
Yes, sir.
When the April 5th incident happened, where they revoked my bond due to them saying, oh, he threatened a correctional officer, is that the best you can come up with? You know, they came up with some bullshit. I never threatened a correctional officer. And why did you not address it in a reasonable timing right there and then? If it was such a threat. There was no threat.
Well, Mustafa, I'll tell you, unfortunately for them, I have the CCTV inside the jail. And I have the audio. By the way, Mustafa, I never told you. I have the audio of the proceeding inside the court where Sarah Sammy is they're in the bond hearing where she says you threatened a correctional officer. And now in light of, I have the audio of inside the court, the proceeding. I have the whole entire thing. We're going to put on a podcast and we're going to have a conversation. And in light of the body cams and the CCTV from inside the jail, I have the CCTV from that day where they're saying that you threatened a correctional officer when in reality, correctional officer went into your cell and choked you out because you're a witness to an 18-year-old that died inside the jail. I have the witness statement, I have the CCTV, and I have the proceeding inside the court. You want to talk about a conversation, Mustafa? You want to talk about exposure? We're going to have these conversations.
Exactly. And let me just tell you, so what I'm trying to get at here, they revoked my bond. They gave me bond. They claim that I'm a murderer. They're charging me with murder. But the judge says once he saw the dash camera, once he heard the audio of Robert Drum with the recording of me and Robert Drum, he said, get the man his bond.
Yeah, I remember. He gave you the bond based on the evidence. Yep.
Exactly. The $5,000 unsecured bond, all I have to pay is $500 and I can be on release.
Mm-hmm.
With no ankle monitor or anything. I don't have to do anything. I can just be on release. This so-called murderer. They're charging me with murder.
Yep.
This is a serious crime. According to Sarah Sammy, the prosecutor, she's trying to give me 2 life sentences.
Well, at that point, the judge realized that she's lying about you. But only after she threatened the judge. What did she tell the judge?
Exactly.
She told him, Judge Weimer, the Commonwealth
is not going to be happy with your decision.
The Commonwealth, and by the way, I have that recording. It's one thing to say it, It's another thing to have that recording. What's a prosecutor? What's a low-level prosecutor threatening a judge?
Let me explain something.
That's interesting.
What's crazy that I'm trying to get at, actually, I'm trying to make this point so
Yes,
I
sir.
can get through the whole point that I'm trying to
Yes,
make.
sir. Yes, sir.
The point is, when they released the discovery of the jail, when they entered my cell and ransacked my cell and took my Quran, took my religious items, took all my belongings, all my property, and ransacked my whole cell and threw everything out. They cut the video.
Yep.
They cut the timing of the video.
Yep.
So they dissect the timing. They take things out of context.
By the way, that's exculpatory evidence. That's supposed to be in there, but they specifically cut it to not show what they've done. And that, by the way, is going to come out. Okay?
They didn't want to reveal it
Yep.
at the time. So now at this stage, we're here.
Mhm.
My bond was revoked back then, but we're at this stage. Now, if you look at my dash camera, I purchased this camera from Best Buy. This camera is specific for car accidents, specific for any type of incident, like anything. Like, this camera is so highly, like it's great at technology where it has all the features. With high quality sound, inside and outside, it captures everything. You're telling me, before impact, you're telling me this camera just shut off? They literally dissected my time frames, and they cropped out, edited the camera, and they severed the wire. So they tampered with my camera. My camera doesn't have a brain to think like, oh, I'm just going to turn off here. No, it records a minute interval even after impact.
You know,
Where
Mustafa.
are the video footages of Dorothy and Empress?
Exactly.
Where are the body cameras of Dorothy and Empress? There's nothing in the discovery about Dorothy and Empress. Nothing. You're telling me this is not a conspiracy? This is not a cover-up?
Every piece of evidence that show that this is a vehicle accident, they remove it out of the discovery. The camera is cut. The audio is missing. The first police officer that responds on the scene, the DC officer that says my body cam is rolling, that saw Dorothy and Empress and you on the when he responded on the scene, is not in the discovery. Why?
Where is it?
Why?
They don't want to talk about it. Every lawyer that I ask, where is Dorothy and Empress? Where are they? What happened to them? What happened? Where is it? Nobody has an answer. It's almost like it's like a secret type of conversation that I'm not allowed to hear.
Well,
When I asked the police officer, why didn't you helicopter them and put them on an ambulance during rush hour?
Exactly.
During rush hour, you're going to put someone that's in critical condition in an ambulance? Make that make sense to a reasonable person.
Mustafa.
You're going to helicopter me
Yeah.
and downplay that I have no injuries. I'm literally unconscious. I'm out. I'm dead. I died and I came back to life by the grace of God.
You know, Mustafa, I have the documents. Yes, sir. I have the documents where that you lost consciousness for 30 minutes. I have the witness, the off-duty paramedic that says Mustafa is in a concussion. He thinks Obama is the president and it's 2022. I have your toxicology report that shows no alcohol, no drugs. I have the paramedic who injected you with 50 mcg of fentanyl.
Why would they inject
And
me with fentanyl?
now, when I watch the body cam, I get very disturbed because they put you in a hospital. Yes, sir.
And I'll tell you why they injected me with fentanyl. They injected me with fentanyl because Chad Mason, Officer Chad Mason, and the nurse, who's claiming to be law enforcement, they interrogated me so that on body camera it shows I have no emotions.
Yep.
I have no emotions. And then when we go to court, the judge wanted to suppress any portion of me having any emotions toward Dorothy and Empress.
You know what I find disturbing is
And I'm
that
injected with fentanyl
You know-
without my knowledge, without my consent.
Mustafa.
They pulled the plug on Empress without telling her father or next of kin. Like, if this is okay, do I have your permission? They just pulled the plug on her? The fuck is this? They're murdering people. They killed Tatiana David, and they're trying to cover it up? Do you understand? There's
Mustafa.
real corruption. If the body camera for Casey Fines was not, if he was not on the scene on my incident, if he was not on the scene in my incident, he would have never found out about Tatiana David.
Of course. Of course.
It would have just been another bulge
Of course.
underneath the rug.
They killed Tatiana David and they say, we didn't do it. Nothing happened. And then literally you see them drag a black girl from the vehicle with her body full with bullets. I mean, to have that level of police misconduct. What are we talking about here? I mean,
The chief of police comes on a podcast, talks about, the requirements to become a police officer. Like he's talking as if, like nonchalantly, like just passive aggressive, like this is okay.
like nothing's going on in the county.
If the police lose trust in the community is going to have an uprising, and they're going to go crazy. Because if you have the daughter or the son or a sibling or a family member of a senator get into a car accident in Prince William County, and Robert Drum and his goon squad comes up and investigate, they're going to charge that person with murder, the driver with murder. They're going to charge that person with murder. I'm sitting here 2 years, and I had people attempting to murder me. They killed me in here. I'm literally surviving, and I'm very strong, by the way.
Mustafa,
My faith is so strong, and I'm telling you, these honey buns, they just keep coming.
I love you, man.
Keep coming. God
I love you.
keeps blessing me every single day.
I
and
love
every
you.
single night. And if you're listening to this, whoever you are, hear me roar. It's a jungle out here, and I'm still alive and well, and I'm coming out. Expect me the same way you expect Jesus to return. You understand what that means?
Glenn Ford.
There is no way they can hold me in here.
Glenn Ford, I want to let Glenn Ford, on that note, Mustafa, I love you. And I want to tell you, your time is coming, brother. Your time is coming where you're going to be held accountable by law. In the meantime, we invite you to be on a podcast and ask you questions about what you said to the police.
He implied directly. Kylie Clapp wakes up in his bed at the age of 16 and he's 40 years old. What kind of inappropriate, no boundaries, what kind of inappropriate relationship is this? For him to admit to a stranger, for him to admit on a recorded line, for him to admit that Kylie Clapp wakes up in his bed, that is the most absurd, disgusting thing I've ever heard in my
Mustafa,
life.
I have the audio, and I find it interesting and disturbing that Glenn Ford sits there and he's angry at me when he's the one saying it on a recorded line. Now the question is, Prosecutor Sarah Sammy, this is your star witness? A 40-year-old man that forces a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old to shower, and he says, I'm not looking at them. I'm in there. I'm not looking at them. I'm forcing them to shower. Let's listen to the audio.
That is really disgusting.
That's her star witness? Kylie, who's soliciting to kill Mustafa? These are the prosecutor.
1 minute.
On that note, Mustafa, you have 1 minute. When you call back, I'm going to connect you to Mom. It's 11 o'clock.
All right, let me hang up the call. But,
Okay.
Before I hang up, I just want to say,
Yes, sir.
I just want to say I love all my supporters. I swear you guys are amazing, and I promise you when I come out, I'm going to get to see everything, and I'm going to see everybody that was there for me during my difficult times. You guys have empowered me, gave me so much hope to stay alive. You have revived me from death itself, and the angel of death doesn't want to take me. You understand what that means? That means I have a purpose right here to expose these tyrants at full cost until the last day I stop breathing.
And every day,
That's my word.
and every day we're going to do that. I love you, Mustafa. When you call back, I'm going to connect to you, Mom. And on that note, we're going to end the podcast. I want to remind everybody that Mustafa's legal fund is $. It's a Cash App. Literally, you can just Cash App the legal fund. It's a $. Mustafa Legal Fund.
Thank you for using Global
On that note,
Link.
we're going to connect Mustafa with Mom. And on that note, thank you for joining this podcast. This is not another boring podcast. Mustafa through the police body cams. Judge Carol Weimer under the microscope. Amy Hodgkins. Glenn Ford. Kylie Clapp. Kim Coleman. Nene. Under the microscope. Thank you for being here. I want to thank Shelly, Farah, Stefana, Becky, Bustos, Shirley, Heather, Gary, Amy Hodgkins, Christine Alcazai, and all my supporters and my haters. Thank you for being here.